Hello, gorgeous people. How are you? Today I'm talking about the direction in which we're traveling, and I'm talking about aeroplanes and yachts. I'll explain myself properly on the other side. So how are we going? I asked the emissaries. How are we going? We, not them. It wasn't one of those generic, so how are we doing? No, how are we going? And they said, we admire you all for what you're doing and the fact that you're managing to manage this very difficult situation. And that's what they said, given the difficulty of being on this plane. And remember, they're not on this plane, they just watch us, right? Sort of vicariously watch us living on this plane. And they said, you're doing very well, wonderfully, in fact. Could it go faster, they said. Could it go faster? Yes, of course it could. There are some things that we aren't doing so well, but they said, could it go slower? Oh yes. There are lots of things that we're doing very well. Okay, we haven't got a manual. We haven't been given a manual on how to deal with this. We're kind of winging it, really. We are winging our way through this experience. And so, yeah, we're going to make mistakes. Sometimes we're going to not get it right. And they said to me, whatever happens, don't feel bad about not being on the right track. Going off track, going off piste, yeah, as the French might say. And they give me the example of the aeroplane. And probably many people have heard this, that an aeroplane, when the pilots got it on autopilot, okay, the aeroplane spends about 90% of its time off course. Okay, it's not going in the right direction, and then it has to adjust. And then it's not going in the right direction, and then it adjusts. And so it's constantly adjusting. So it's never really very much on the right course, and yet it still arrives. That's how we are. We're not meant to be on the right course all of the time. We're not like that. That's perfection. We're not perfect. We're meant to go off course, but we've got to adjust. We've got to adjust. And then they give me another analogy about a yacht. Let's try and spell that if you're not English. Yacht. Mad spelling. And they showed me when with a yacht, for example, if you're having to go into the wind, you can, but you have to use a system called tacking. You have to tack into the wind. And so what happens is you go this way, the wind's blowing like this, you have to go like this on a very, very shallow angle, and then you have to turn around and go this. And so what happens is to actually go into the wind, you're not on course at all. You're going like this, and yet you can still push against the wind. But what they said was, in both instances, with automatic pilot and with tacking into the wind, you have to be absolutely conscious of where you are at any time. You need to be aware of where you are on this journey. And I think that's the key for us. It's all about self-awareness. I mean, how many times have we heard this? Self-awareness. Why? Because if you're not self-aware, you could be any fucking place. You could be over here, over there, who knows? Wibbly wobbly. But when you're self-aware, then even if you're in the wrong place, you're aware that you're in the wrong place. I'll give you an example. So a while ago, I stopped drinking alcohol, okay? And this is a good while ago, maybe 10 years ago or whatever. I stopped drinking alcohol. Why? Because I saw that I was in the wrong place. I really was in the wrong place. And I stopped for 4 years. Then after 4 years, I became very nervous about moving to, and so it must have been more than 10 years ago, moving to Spain, okay? I was worried about it. I thought it was very stressful. Obviously, moving country is very stressful. And so I started drinking again. And suddenly I was drinking as much as I was before, if not more. I would probably say more. And even though I was in the wrong place, I was absolutely aware that I was in the wrong place. I knew it. I didn't hide from it. I was fully aware. And it was thanks to my starting to use ayahuasca. That really helped me to be able to make an adjustment. It doesn't really matter whatever. I could have gone to therapy. I could have, I don't know, done many things to stop myself from being on the wrong track, but I knew I was on the wrong track. The difficulty that we have is when we're on the wrong track and we don't know. We think it's the right track. We think it's okay. Right? And it's self-denial and you know, actually when you get deep down, we all know when we're on the wrong track because we're completely unhappy. I was very, very unhappy when I was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was very disappointed in myself. And so we know, but lots and lots of people deny it. And so what the emissaries are saying is, this year, 2024, what do we have to do? We have to become as aware of ourselves as we possibly can. We need to make an analysis of where we are. Where are we? Based on what? Compared to where we've been and compared to where we want to go to. Now, remember, for those who did the Ego course with me, and by the way, the Ego course is there for you to download. It's free, it's donation only if you want to give a donation, but it's there. It's definitely worthwhile doing if you haven't done it. So, on the Ego course, we talked about comparisons and how you must never, ever compare yourself to somebody else. Why? Because you're not that other person, and that other person's not you. You are you. And so the only person that you can make a comparison with is you. So what is that? 12 months ago, where was I and where am I now? Am I in a better place? What were my habits like 12 months ago? Are my habits now better? And when you ask yourself that question, if not, then you know that you've gone off track and you need to get back on track. And then you say, well, where do I want to be in 12 months' time? Where am I now? Where do I want to be? And so that's the way that we adjust. That's that autopilot. Because when you do this kind of thought process, where do I want to be? And if you write it down, if you get excited about it, then the unconscious mind is going to take you there, as well as the universe. Okay, they all work, they all conspire together. So that's what we have to do all of the time. And the most important thing for all of us is not to give ourselves a hard time when we're off track. We're in the 80s, when I worked in textiles and in manufacturing, there was this big push for what was called RFT, right first time. And it was the key of, you know, if you're going to do it right first time. Don't do it wrong and then have to. And, you know, for as much as it sounded like a great idea, it wasn't really a good idea, because we don't learn when we do things right. We learn our life lessons. And I'm not talking about the science of if you do it right 100 times, then it's going to be easier to do it right. We need to learn lessons from our mistakes, from adversity. We need to learn from adversity. And so we need to make these mistakes. And so we should never beat ourselves up when we get it wrong. All that we have to do is say, okay, so now what do I need to do to get back on track? That's all. Okay, and accept that we're not here to be perfect. We're here to live this experience, to make the mistakes that we need to make, to have the lessons that we need to have, and then to get on. Get the fuck out of there and get on and do the stuff that we're supposed to do. Yeah. So there you are. It's not right first time. It's wrong many times until we reach the goal. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.